Okay. On the left, you can see David Petalas with black-red Kamikaze, and on the right, Chester Lee with black-white tokens. In the booth, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Hall of Famer Rob Doherty. Do you prefer Robert, or do you go with Rob?
Rob's good.
Okay. And opening, we got a land here at the Chapel from Chester Lee.
Coming in tapped, indicator of not so many land in hand.
And we have a Cliffs Gravecrawler from David Petalas. Second land. And gather the townsfolk. I like how he kind of waits to see if the tapped out black-red deck has a response.
He slow rolled the townsfolk there.
Just in case. And 2 townies.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine like a Blood Artist comes down, the Gravecrawler attack suddenly becomes much, much more exciting.
No, yeah, it's
Blood
good.
Artist.
Blood Artist is such a powerful card.
And it was great when it cost 4. Here we have the Gravecrawler coming in. Depending on how aggressive Chester's hand is, we'll see if he blocks or if he takes it. Looks like he's taking it.
Well, with all his token enhancement, he may want to keep those guys around.
Porcelain Legionnaire, 3/1 first strike.
That is going to stall the ground.
Chester Lee, third land here. That looks like a vault.
Oh, vault. And that can be really big in this matchup. The life swings from that can be very significant.
And we see white, most likely white. Doomed Traveler. That card is a good one. I like to think of Doomed Traveler as the ravenous rats of the current age. Sometimes it doesn't manage to trade for somebody else, but oftentimes it's like a 2-for-1 with real cards on the table.
Yeah, it can buy you a lot of time, although admittedly a pretty weak turn 3.
Yeah, definitely. Here we see the attack. And Doomed Traveler upgrades to Spirit status.
Yeah, saves him a couple life. And good to get that out of the way before the Blood Artist hits the table.
Now, these players are not in the top 8 yet, so they don't have each other's deck lists. But these days, I do feel like Blood Artist is one of the reasons to play black.
Sure.
So I think it's something to start expecting.
Yes.
A land...
Well, especially from the when you're seeing the zombie.
3 mana, is that a Metamorph? Metamorph on the Legionnaire.
Yeah.
Very difficult for Chester to attack.
And Chester seems to be having some white mana difficulties. I think I saw some honors in his hand, and he's trying to filter all his plays through a single white source.
Is that going to be an intangible virtue?
Yeah.
It is. The ground's still not a very hospitable place to attack unless he happens to have a tragic slip. And there are no slips in his deck, it doesn't look like. No. So just in the air if he wants. And there's 2 damage in the Vigilant Air.
And without a land drop, that vault is not going to be activating anytime soon.
Now, these creatures being vigilant does mean that suddenly attacking is not as good of a proposition for David Petalas.
Sure. Yeah, he can multi-block a first striker now.
Is he going to come in anyway? He does have Go for the Throat, Tragic Slip, Brimstone Volley, and Dismember as possible instants, which is not a few.
Sure. Although those tokens are relatively expendable.
Cavern is currently naming Shapeshifter. The Shapeshifter in his deck, you can see one of them in play, a Phyrexian Metamorph. Do you block with double block if you're Chester, or even a triple block on something?
It would depend on my hand, but I'm very likely to double block just to keep that the damage down and force the trades before Blood Artist hits the table.
And there you see a Dismember paid for the rare cost of no life. 3 damage hits Chester Lee. Chester 2 turns away from death.
Finally, that second planes.
In for 2. There could be a hero here. There could be all kinds of things.
Now,
What does he have?
given the last play, I think it's highly likely he has more token generation, but
Hero represents so much damage next turn.
it does. It does. Fragile. But
3, 6, 9, 12 potential damage.
and also, the possibility to drop 2 more enhancers.
A 5th mana for David Petalas. He really would like to Doomblade, go for the throat, something. Wow.
No?
Metamorph.
Or I'll take one of those 2.
If he also has the go for the throat, that would be just insane.
So painful.
And in they come. That would be a signal to me that he has a
Slip?
A slip. If he's even thinking about it, I mean, does he want to toss away a card for 3 damage? Are we at that stage of the game? Is it that late? The opponent doing math.
Well, with
scary.
Hero Blade holds on both sides of the table, things can end very quickly.
If he doesn't attack without more than... Oh, wow. Now
Interesting.
that is saying, I've got it, buddy. Do you want to call? After combat, Whip Flare. Artifact creatures take 2. Sorry, non-artifact.
Yeah.
Misspoke. Non-artifact take 2.
Another great card for the matchup for him. Now, a land here could represent a lot of life gain.
Wow. And there it is. And here's where the
Yeah.
vault suddenly becomes absolutely absurd.
Indeed. And interestingly, if he had left back the other first striker, the attack would have been much less palatable. I think he has to go for it here to gain the life.
I think he has to as well, not only to gain the life, but to put enough creatures on the table. Well, I mean, how much life gain is that going to be? That's going to be right now 3, 6, 9. It's gaining 9 life.
And it races so well, but that's not the play.
He's not going there. He's going with honor instead. Oh, he's going to do the double enhancement. So that's 2 honors and 1 intangible virtue. Now, despite intangible virtue being in play, the creatures do come into play tapped, because that's what Hero says.
I haven't done out all the math on this, but looks a little bit dangerous.
That Hero is a 5, represents 5 damage, and those tokens represent 1, 2,
5 each.
3, 4,
And
5.
he's at 10, so it's forcing the double. He's forcing the double block.
Yep.
As I said, didn't do the math. Obviously, Chester did.
There's no option but to do it.
Yep.
Just do the double block, and then
That's
what are you going to have?
Very solid play.
I don't know that... Yeah.
You looking for outs over there?
Looking for outs. I don't think I see any.
So
He's only got 1 card in hand?
Suddenly with the double enhancement. Oh.
And a Doom Traveler. That's the Perfector. The Porcelain Legionnaire, not actually tapped right now, but
it's given up.
It's just stay down.
It's hiding. Maybe if ZB.
Okay. So you're David Petalas. What do you like to bring in here? Do you like the Phyrexian Obliterator?
Possibly. It certainly holds the ground. What do we get? What else do we have?
Whip Flare seems like it's good and then bad, depending on how things have gone.
Sure.
I definitely like 2 Ratchet Bombs.
Oh my god. Yeah, Ratchet Bombs are okay in this matchup.
Doomblade is a really interesting card. Obviously, you're playing against a deck with Hero, which is good there, and it's terrible against the rest of the deck.
It's pretty weak. I personally would not bring in Doomblades in this matchup. It's just too narrow of a card. obviously depends on how many bad cards you have in your main deck,
Right.
but...
What do you do to count on stopping the hero? Just hope to be more aggressive and run your own ratchet bombs and perhaps Obliterator? Or is Obliterator even in the consideration here?
I think, well, it's very reasonable for in the consideration that there's the token deck has a significant ground game, and obviously Obliterator can can shut that down. Let's see, what else do we have here?
Obliterator, Nile Spellbomb, Surgical Extraction, Whip Flare, which I do like for the most part, Doomblade, Manic Vandal, Active Aggression, and Ratchet Bomb.
You obviously have more skill in reading players' handwriting.
Well, I have seen many handwritings. On the
what
other
do we
side
got
of
on the tokens here?
Definitely Vault of the Archangel is coming in. I do find interesting Sorin in the sideboard. Sorin would have been a card that a lot of people, when they were originally building this deck, we were seeing 1 copy, 2 copies, even 4 copies in some token lists. And I find it very interesting that Chester, with his record, he's currently a 6-1 record, that he's running 1 Sorin in the sideboard.
Yeah, I had Sorin main decked at the Pro Tour where I was playing tokens, and frankly took him out after that. So I can understand why he's not in the main. So timely reinforcements. I think we'll see them in this matchup.
I like the look of Timely. I like the look of Vault.
Oblivion
I like
Ring
O-Ring.
O-Ring is phenomenal against this deck. They
black,
can't do
red.
anything. Yeah,
like, well, I guess you got it.
Yeah.
That is a very good card. Vindicate.
Yeah, he's got a lot to board in. Let's see what he brings out for it.
Card-wise, Doomblade seems like a weak card for him, even though Doomblade can kill a Legionnaire and can kill occasional Metamorph targets. I don't like that enough. It's not good enough.
Yeah, that card is gone. Now, it'll be interesting to see what he does with his heroes. Obviously, Hero won him this game, but it's vulnerable to the targeted removal that his opponent may have. He may audible out his heroes and leave himself without effective targets for the spot removals, or he may leave them in because they are such a powerhouse.
It's a hard call. I mean, the thing about it is it gives you an entirely different angle in the sense that you have a single card, which is its build its own army.
Yeah, it is a wonderful, incredibly powerful card. However, in this matchup, it is both giving a good target for the spot removal and an amazing thing for them to copy. So I could see going either way. It depends on how many things he wants to bring in the matchup, but that could be deemed a weak link.
It's also expensive on the curve.
It is expensive on the curve, and this is a fast matchup.
Okay, so actually a card I'm looking at, the more I think about it, if we're concerned about the potential for spot removal, maybe a card like Champion of the Parish isn't the way you want to go, because unless you get the Champion into the townie, gather the townsfolk, draw, it could become...
It is completely reasonable for him to pull out his Doomblades, his Champions, and his heroes, if he has enough things to bring in. He may go for bringing in the Timelies, the Oblivion Rings. What else does he have that was attractive in the matchup?
Vault ×1.
Yeah, I can definitely see the Vault coming in.
I mean, that is 6 cards. Looks like are we waiting for a judge call? Is that what's going on here? Or is one of them perhaps just mulliganing? Can't quite see. No, it looks like there was an offer of the cut there. I think it was just a long shuffle, perhaps. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm in the booth with Rob Doherty of Magic Hall of Fame. Rob Doherty, no stranger to success in Magic. Besides being a member of the Hall of Fame, in Patrick Chapin's article series about best deck builders of all time, Rob Doherty, I believe, was voted the 3rd best deck builder of all time by a number of deck builders. So
that's too shy of awesome.
I believe that Zvi was given the #1 nod, and then
I can see that.
I want to say Gabriel Nassif the nod for #2. That's some rare air to be in.
I like the deck tinkering. So we have a mulligan going on here.
We do indeed.
So this sounds like a perfect time to throw in a plug for the Ascension app. If you haven't downloaded it yet, man, you got to play that thing. It's pretty good.
You know what I'm gonna do is I'm also gonna throw in a mini plug for Ascension. So I had a friend over the other night. If you haven't played Ascension, if you're a Magic player, you're probably gonna love Ascension. My friend came over. She was like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, we can watch Game of Thrones, but can we play this game first?" "No, I don't want to play." And after, she was like, "I'm gonna buy this game."
Yes,
that's
yes.
a true story.
Yeah, it's a little bit like Pringles. You try it and you just can't stop.
Didn't you guys get Spiel des Jahres last year?
No, but we should have.
You were nominated for Spiel des Jahres, Game of the Year from the German, the prestigious German awards.
So my shameless plug there was channeling a little Brian Kibler.
That was a very good Brian Kibler. Now, I'm going to do a different kind of plug. So one of the things that is on the Ascension promo materials is the game created by Pro Tour champions. So we've got Pro Tour champion Brian Kibler in the Hall of Fame that helped create it.
Yeah.
And then Pro Tour champion Justin Gary, who I think should be in the Hall of Fame.
He should be indeed.
And the game is underway. David Petalas starts out the first play on turn 2, 2 life for a Porcelain Legionnaire. Yeah. Chester Lee with the Plains, and we'll see what his turn 2 looks like.
And as we saw previously, the Legionnaire is quite a challenge in the matchup.
Oh boy. No creature. Honor the Pure.
Well, the Honor the Pure turn 2 is a pretty typical play for this deck. It gives you a lot of powerful options for your turn 3 token generation. Plus, if he did as we expected and brought in his timely reinforcements, that's the perfect setup for it. No creature turn 1, Honor on turn 2, and then timely on turn 3.
As you say, and the future is predicted. Geralf's Messenger, answered by timely. 6 life brought back. Resetting the game practically with a whole bunch of guys in play.
And 3 2/2s. And as we saw, the token deck can get very aggressive very quickly.
Yeah, the token deck went from being on the back foot to just you're dead next turn.
Yeah, well, the double enhancer in hand.
In come the creatures. We got
probably going to be a triple block on the first striker, but.
As you say. Any tricks, David Petalas? You need a lot of tricks to make this work out.
And even if it does, the card advantage on the timely. The card is
there.
Just so good.
Timely, a card that really changed the tenor for red decks back when red decks were still considered playable.
It makes them so sad.
I had a conversation with Patrick Sullivan about timely reinforcements, and we both basically agreed that 1 timely was far more scary than 1 core Firewalker.
Yes.
And David trying to figure out what he wants to do here. Oh, gosh, look at all that.
He is using the removal.
And there we go.
But had to be done.
I mean, he had the
keeps
cards.
The board clear, keeps his pressure on, but with there's so many things the token deck could have here.
Imagine another timely.
Another timely would be absurd.
How about a hero?
Hero, okay. And that that removal out of the way is looking pretty good right now. We'll see if he has more.
We are halfway into this round.
Oh wait, that isn't a hero.
Is
That's
that an angel?
The angel, I believe.
Oh wow. I thought it was an alternate art hero, but you're right. That is Angel of Jubilation.
Yeah. Yep. Less exciting than a hero in this scenario.
Less exciting than a hero. Sometimes the alternate art is so prevalent in a lot of these big events that I just assume that the card is the alternate art. Geralf's Messenger coming on in.
It doesn't care if it dies. It kind of likes it.
Were you the one that was talking this last week about how you hated Geralf's Messenger, or was that someone else?
I was not.
Okay, just curious.
That card's quite solid. I hate playing against it.
Metamorph. What's he copying? He's like, well, what does that card do? Let me look at it.
So what just happened here? Did we have a backup?
I don't think so. Maybe that
Lana
was
was
a backup.
tapped, the card hit the table, came back up.
He's like, I think he went, wait, Metamorph. What does that card do you got over there? Do I want to do this? I'm not sure.
It doesn't.
Is that Blood Artist?
Blood Artist. Yeah, there's +1 to the non-black creatures. Not as good to copy.
Right. This is a big angel, 4/4.
He needs to add to that board. Oh, and did he just say the land? No, okay. I thought that was a land go. It was not going to be looking good.
And in for 4.
Come in with the aggression.
I wonder if he's got Meow Meow in his hand. He does have 3 White Sun Zeniths in his sideboard.
Yeah, and depending... Now, the presence of that angel makes me think it's less likely because...
Oh, wow. Metamorph. You can't pay 2 life for Metamorph with an Angel of Jubilation in play.
Ah, yes, that's the reason for the backup, yes.
Oh, of course, that secondary text.
Yeah.
And we have a Gather of the Townies. There's a pair of 1/1s made into 2/2s, made into 3/3s.
And 3 mana open. We could have 2 spirits coming into play at any time.
Blood Artist still there.
Yeah, changing the math.
In for 3. Chester taking it, going down to 12.
As long as he can keep the attacks to just that guy, he's going to be relatively
As
safe.
you said, Midnight Haunting. Midnight Haunting making another pair of 3/3s. These are flyers, though. That is a lot of damage in the air. It looks like 10 damage to me.
Again, the token deck just comes out harsh with the pressure.
Right. And David Petalas basically needs a kill for that Angel of Jubilation, I think, in order to really be in this. A Tragic Slip would keep him alive, if I'm doing the math here right. 4, 10. Yeah, a Tragic Slip would keep him alive, but that's not great. What does that card do again? You don't have to sacrifice stuff. Oh, double Metamorph in hand. Chester, all smiles. No Metamorph from David Petalas because of the strange, tertiary text of Angel of Jubilation.
Indeed.